going on, everybody? It's Ashton Levy, aka the Genetic Freak. I had one of my subscribers ask me a question today. They said they want to know something about how to stretch and open up their hip flexors. This is kind of funny because this is actually a problem that I had for the longest time. Basically, your hip flexors, for people who don't know, is a muscle that's basically running along your sex line, so to say, your hips, and it is responsible for all this type of action. So if you have tight hip flexors, it's basically going to impede with your distance for jumping, your speed for running, just because you're going to be tight kind of in the sex line, kind of groin area. This is something I had a problem with for quite a long time. I never actually realized what it is or what it was that was causing it. So basically, long story short, my hip flexors were super tight, and it was almost pulling my hip bone forward, causing me to have an extreme arch in my back. The correct term is called an anterior pelvic tilt. So just long story short, tight hip flexors, pulling my pelvis forward, putting an extreme arch in my back, accompanied by a bunch of deadlifts and squats. I started getting really tight hip flexor with a really tight back, and I started walking around like I had a big ghetto booty. So basically my lower back was hurting extremely bad just because of my tight hip flexors. I'll show you two different demonstrations that you can use in your spare time to loosen up your hip flexors. One will require a partner, the second one can be done on your own. So let's get started. All we need is just a regular gym bench, nothing too high, nothing too low. What we're going to do is we're going to put our knee in the middle of the bench here. We're going to basically lunge forward. The only difference is the leg that is on the bench is going to be fully extended and almost laying flat along that bench. So I'm in this extreme lunge position. You come here, you can check it out. So already I can start to feel my hip flexors starting to open up. So I can kind of just rest and relax here for about 10-20 seconds, loosen up my hips, kind of let it sink in. After a few seconds, when I start to feel comfortable, I'm going to try and let it sink in even deeper, as if I'm putting my groin deep into the bench. Once I get as deep as I possibly can, I'm going to push against my front knee and elevate my upper chest. While I'm doing that, I'm now going to tighten my core, and I can extremely feel the stretch in my hip flexor. So that is the key point there. Groin is going to be low, but as I'm pushing myself up, I'm flexing my core nice and tight, making sure that I feel that stretch in my sex line, so to say, my hip flexor. All right, now for the next exercise. Follow me. All right, here we go. This is the second exercise that's going to lengthen and stretch out our hip flexors if you have tight hip flexors. So here I have my trusty right-hand man, Jay Lee. He has some tight hip flexors today, and I'm going to show you guys what to do. So what you want to do is try and find a bench that's generally has a little bit of elevation to it. So here, you can see his feet can dangle off the bottom here. If it's too low, you won't be able to get a deep enough stretch. So once you find an elevated bench or platform that his feet can dangle, you're good to go. All right, this is in before all the jokes and all the trolls is going to comment below. So jokes aside, we're stretching out hip flexors here as men. All right, Jay Lee with the fresh kicks right here is going to put his shoe up on my upper chest right here, and he's going to try and scoot so his butt is at the very edge of the bench. Good. Now with his foot on my chest and his bottom foot dangling down, I'm going to slightly lean in and keep his knees almost together in a line. From here, I'm going to add some pressure to his bottom foot and push his leg down while I slowly lean into his groin. So I'm separating his legs into a deep split kind of stretch. From here, I'm going to add more pressure as he exhales until he gives me a slight tap. Tap your hands when it's too much, Jay. Good, he's nice and deep. Now I'm going to ask him to flex and tighten his core as much as possible. So as he's flexing his core, he's stretching his hip flexor even further, and it's going to lengthen. After about 10 to 20 seconds of this deep core flexing, I'm going to be able to actually add a little bit more pressure, push down further with the bottom foot, and deeper with the front foot. Make sure you do this very slow and gradually. You're not trying to hurt him, you're not trying to injure anyone. It's nice and smooth. It can last for up to a minute to 2 minutes before you switch legs.